A total of 14 World Tour teams have made their way to Germany for the 2022 edition of the Deutschland Tour. The best field ever assembled for the hardest race, featuring the first ever summit finish. And it all gets underway in the historic and cultural heart of Germany, in Weimar, right in the middle of the country, in the beautiful landscape of Thüringen. And it starts with a short, sharp prologue. So no particular difficulties to deal with on this 2.6 kilometre individual time trial prologue. The race getting underway from Goetheplatz, in the home of Goethe and Schiller, up the Erfurter Straße, and they're describing four sides of a rectangle. One timing point with 1 kilometre to go before a finish outside the famous Bauhaus Museum right in the heart of Weimar. One little climb will provide at the end of the day a King of the Mountains classification leader. Well, in the shadow of the Peter and Paul Church, Weimar in baking hot temperatures, getting ready to greet an assembly of stars from the Tour de France and beyond as the race got underway towards late afternoon. A smattering of continental teams from Germany also represented, but 14 World Tour teams and some of the best time trialists in the world. But it was Henri Ulich who set the best time, riding for Alpecin de Koning. A good ride from a rider who was representing one of the continental teams from Germany last year at the Deutschland Tour, where he made a big impact on the race, taking a provisional lead from Sven-Erik Boström. Then Greg Van Avermaet of AG2R Citroën on the roads. Van Avermaet just getting the better of Henri Ulich, but only by a fraction of a second. A good ride from Greg Van Avermaet, the team leader of AG2R Citroën, and it was goodbye to Henri Ulich from the hot seat for now. Then it was the turn of the Ineos Grenadiers and their young German star Kim Heiduk going faster by over 4 seconds than Greg Van Avermaet. He then took his place on the hot seat before his teammate Adam Yates, the GC leader of the Ineos Grenadiers, with the summit finish on stage 3 in mind, went off the start ramp and onto a blistering 2.6 kilometres, and just edging out his young teammate by around about half a second. Kim Heiduk replaced by the Ineos Grenadiers' Adam Yates. Then the sprinter from Jumbo-Visma, Olaf Koy, going through the split timing point and down hard. Olaf Koy crashing out on that right-hander, and having set the best time, that was the end effectively of his race as he gingerly made his way with a heavy wound to his leg over the finish line. Another Dutchman then, the Dutch individual time trial champion and the leader of Trek Segafredo at the Deutschland Tour, Bauke Mollema, off and running. And coming towards the line, Mollema with a decent lead over the leader Mick van Dijken, who'd gone fastest at this point. Mollema, though, taking a big chunk of time on van Dijken. Almost 2.5 seconds better. Mollema, the next rider on the hot seat. But then it was the turn of the world champion, Filippo Ganna of the Ineos Grenadiers. Mollema looking on anxiously as Yves Lampaert, let's not forget the winner of the individual time trial in Copenhagen and the first Maillot Jaune at the Tour de France. Both these riders on the course. Filippo Ganna pushing for the line on an ordinary road bike like every other rider in this prologue. And what a ride from Ganna. 1.8 seconds faster than Bauke Mollema. Mollema making his way away from the hot seat. Only Lampaert left as a real threat, but Lampaert outside the time of Ganna. Provisional third for Lampaert, but Niels Pollitt, the rider with number 1 on his back, the defending champion of the Deutschland Tour, the winner of the race last year outright, sprinting for the line, but he too was outside the time of Ganna. On the podium though, the third fastest time for the last rider over the line, Niels Pollitt. Filippo Ganna, the winner.
Unlucky without the TT bike, it's a little bit strange. It's not normal, but yeah, of course we can try to do all best also with the normal bike, and we do. Now we have 4 days really intensity. It's not completely flat. Obviously there's a all climb also, and we have a good teammate, really young, and we hope to do really well with the result of the team.
So another victory, another leader's jersey for Filippo Ganna. His first victory since taking the Italian National Time Trial Championships back in June. He edges out Bauke Mollema by 2 seconds and Neil Pollitt on 3 seconds. With that victory comes the lead in the green jersey competition, 15 points to Filippo Ganna, 12 to Bauke Mollema and Niels Pollitt on 9. The best young rider in the white jersey was Mick van Dijken of Jumbo-Visma. An excellent time trial from him, and he leads the young riders' standings on the same time as Ireland's Ben Healy, riding for EF Education Easy Post, and Tobias Foss of Jumbo-Visma, his teammate, in third place at 1 second. One more jersey still to hand out, and it was Olaf Koy who couldn't make it to the podium because he was in hospital having stitches for that wound to his leg, and yet he will wear the Mountains jersey going into stage 1. For a second day running then, Weimar still at the centre of the Deutschland Tour 2022. The host city of the prologue then, also hosting the start of the first road stage from Weimar, the city of culture, bathed in warm sunshine once again as the temperatures began to increase. The peloton said goodbye to the famous Goethe House en route for Meiningen, a distant 171.7 kilometres down the road through the Thüringer Wald and through some breathtaking countryside. This is how it looks then. 171.7 kilometres from Weimar to Meiningen, the first road stage of the Deutschland Tour 2022, the first of 2 possible opportunities for sprinters, through the intermediate sprint at Rudolstadt and then into increasingly lumpy territory. The Oberweisbachburg mountain, followed by the Masseberg summit, a category 2, followed by another category 2 climb, the final one of the day, the Köhndorf summit. Then an intermediate sprint over the finish line in Meiningen, a bonus sprint still to come with 19 kilometres still to go on the top of an uncategorised climb at 30 Acker. An opportunity there potentially for some of the teams to drop the big name sprinters. Fabio Jakobsen, Caleb Ewan among them, and Filippo Ganna in the red jersey as the race leader going into the first road stage of the Deutschland Tour 2022, as Weimar said goodbye for the final time to the peloton of the Deutschland Tour, rolling out from Goetheplatz en route for Meiningen. There were initially 4 riders in the breakaway, but after Joshua Huppertz from the Lotto Kern team sat up, that left just 3. Saris Ruvi Sauerland's Michael Stockmann, Downer Akon's Roman Duckert and Lotto Kern's Jakob Gessner, as Egan Bernal and the Ineos Grenadiers controlled the pace for the race leader behind. With 70.2 kilometres to go, the group had a gap of 2 minutes, but then passing through a feed zone, the gap expanded as they pushed on in the breakaway. The Ineos Grenadiers content to let things go. Bauke Mollema in second place in the general classification, wearing the green jersey after an excellent individual time trial prologue from Trek Segafredo, riding on the coattails of the Ineos Grenadiers, and the King of the Mountains jersey being worn by the man who finished in 4th place in the prologue in that competition, Alberto Bettiol of EF Education Easy Post. A relaxed peloton at this stage as the gap grew to nearly 4 minutes for the 3. One more climb remaining. The 2 previous climbs going to Jakob Gessner from the Lotto Kern team. Just the climb of Köhndorf remaining, a category 2 climb. And in the bunch, Egan Bernal, the winner of the Giro and the Tour de France, coming back from injury, doing a huge block of work for the Ineos Grenadiers and for Filippo Ganna. But still the gap grows. 4 minutes now on the road. And the peloton and the breakaway being blown along by a light tailwind at this point as they switched in a westerly direction to head towards the final closing circuit in Meiningen. All these 3 young riders from continental teams from Germany working well at this point to develop their lead and hold on to an advantage that was hovering around the 4-minute mark at this point, and the peloton still content to allow the Ineos Grenadiers at this point in the race to set the pace as conversations continued between the 3 riders who might have started to believe they had a chance at this point. The gap growing through the Thüringer Wald, through a succession of beautiful villages as the sun just gave way to cloud cover, high temperatures, high humidity. But finally, the Ineos Grenadiers got help from a number of other teams, including EF Education First and Trek Segafredo, and the time gap started to come down. Approaching the final climb of the day then, the Köhndorf climb. The three riders from the German continental teams with an advantage of just over 3 minutes. Another opportunity for the rider in black and yellow there, young Jakob Gessner, to extend his advantage on the road in the King of the Mountains competition. Effectively, having won the first 2 climbs of the day, the jersey, should he finish the stage, was already his. But Gessner, clearly intent on taking more points. With the finish line in sight then, and with Roman Duckert on his wheel, the youngest of the 3 riders, just 20 years of age, from Dauna Akon, Gessner took another 3 points at the top of the final climb of the day. Unopposed this time by Roman Duckert. Jakob Gessner, a very successful day out for the man from Thüringen, a local rider to this region of Germany, which was showing itself off to quite splendid fashion. Beautiful half-timbered houses. The peloton going over the top of the final climb, a relaxed 2.5 minutes down. Bora Hansgrohe then moving to the front en masse as Egan Bernal dropped to the back of the peloton, his work having been done for the day. Bora Hansgrohe really taking things up, and the time gap starting to tumble. Close to 2 minutes with 23 kilometres remaining. And through the finish line for the first time and out onto a 23-kilometre circuit, Michael Stockmann passing the Georg II Theatre in Meiningen. Enjoying the big crowds waiting to see the passage of the peloton through, and then the final expected bunch sprint. Stockmann taking the second of the 2 intermediate sprints in historic Meiningen. Egan Bernal then sitting up with 21 kilometres to go. A huge amount of work done by the Colombian as he continues his recovery from serious injury. The Tour of Denmark already behind him, taking on the Tour of Germany. And this was the moment that Roman Duckert decided to attack, going solo with just over 20 kilometres to go. Coming back from a broken collarbone before the season even got underway, a delayed start to the season for Roman Duckert, but clearly a man in form. He took the bonus 3 seconds on offer with 19.4 kilometres to go, and the remaining other seconds were swept up by the 2 remaining riders from the original breakaway that Roman Duckert had attacked. On the climb then, the uncategorised climb, Fabio Jakobsen, the newly crowned European champion, the out-and-out favourite for the bunch sprint, was dropped. Niels Pollitt then taking things up for Bora Hansgrohe, trying to make it hard for the other teams. Picking up the 2 of the last 3 remaining riders, and a counter-attack coming on the right-hand side of the road from none other than the race leader himself, Filippo Ganna in the red jersey. Riders at the back then looking in consternation to see who might close the gap to the Italian, with 17.5 kilometres to go, opening up an advantage of a few seconds. Ganna then caught, and Duckert too, the last remaining rider, caught and passed by the peloton. The attacks coming thick and fast. Very, very hard to control on the running to Meiningen. Intermarché Wanty Gobert with Alexander Kristoff in 6th place taking things up, but an attack on the left-hand side of the road by AG2R Citroën's Greg van Avermaet and Michael Scher, the Swiss rider, 2 very, very strong, experienced riders. A good attack, but once again hunted down by Jumbo-Visma and by Lotto Soudal. Lotto Soudal riding for Caleb Ewan, a massive opportunity. No Fernando Gaviria, no Fabio Jakobsen, and Caleb Ewan in around about 6th or 7th place, latching onto the wheel of Alexander Kristoff. Kristoff still with the lead-out man as Intermarché take things up at the front. Kristoff about to open up his sprint. Jonathan Milan from Bahrain victorious on the wheel of Caleb Ewan. Ewan, the tiny figure, the Australian, just tucked in behind Alexander Kristoff. Kristoff opening up his sprint. Milan then alongside him. A powerful sprint from the Italian from Bahrain victorious. But here comes Caleb Ewan. Ewan with a thrust to the line, and Caleb Ewan gets that longed-for victory in emphatic style. A brilliant win from the Australian.
It's pretty sweet after a few average months. I still believe that I could win, and my team never lost faith in me either. So, I'm happy I can repay them after not winning for a few months.
Well, Caleb Ewan hugely disappointed not to be selected for Australia for the upcoming World Championships in his home country. But here's some consolation. A victory here in the Deutschland Tour ahead of Jonathan Milan and Max Kanter from Germany in the colours of Movistar in 3rd place. No real changes at the top of the general classification. Filippo Ganna continuing to wear the red jersey. But Jonathan Milan, courtesy of his bonus seconds, moving up into third place in the general classification, ahead of Niels Pollitt in fourth. The green jersey, well, it's a dead heat at the top of the standings, but Filippo Ganna continues to lead the standings on countback. Ganna then ahead of Caleb Ewan, but both of those riders on 15 points. Mollema on 12 and Milan also on 12 in fourth place. A new leader of the King of the Mountains competition from the breakaway, the man from Thüringen, Jakob Gessner, riding for the Lotto Kern team, took all three of the climbs available on the day and leads the standings on 11 points ahead of Roman Duckert on 7. And a change as well in the standings in the white jersey competition as Jonathan Milan takes over from Mick van Dijken, leads the Dutchman now by 2 seconds. So Meiningen then, the host town for the start of stage 2, developed in the 19th century, nestling in the Thüringer Wald, a combination of half-timbered houses and 19th century splendour. Bathed in warm sunshine, the market square with the Stadtkirche dominating the scene, Meiningen, a fitting background to the longest stage of the Deutschland Tour. So 200.7 kilometres in total, rolling out of Thüringen, passing over the old border between East and West Germany and into Hessen. The first climb of Schwarzenborn summit. Dropping down then for an intermediate sprint at Schlitz. And then rolling, twisting terrain in a westerly direction all the while until the next climb of the day at Amöneburg. And then another climb at Hasenkopf, an intermediate sprint over the finish line in Marburg, another climb to Marbach, and then the bonus sprint at Neuhofer, just 4.8 kilometres from the finish line. Rolling terrain all the way. Another possible bunch sprint, but it will be difficult, that final testing finishing circuit with its numerous climbs. Jakob Gessner in the blue King of the Mountains jersey, Filippo Ganna in red. The race leader, Filippo Ganna from the Ineos Grenadiers. Caleb Ewan, the winner of stage 1. Another opportunity for him to add to his tally at the Deutschland Tour. Rolling out of Meiningen then, 4 riders getting away. Quentin Chérigui from B&B Hotels KTM. Byron Munson, the South African, riding for the Downer Akon team. Jan Hugger from Lotto Kern and Abraham Stockmann from the Saris Ruvi Sauerland team. 4 riders with a 2 minutes 30 second advantage, and once again Egan Bernal for the Ineos Grenadiers doing all the work on the front of the peloton to control the breakaway. All strung out. Bernal keeping the 4 riders on a tight leash. 77 kilometres to go. 2.5 minutes. A very slender lead indeed. Over the first climb of the day, Quentin Chérigui took maximum points of 3. And his ambition would be to take all 3 remaining climbs, and that would give him the jersey on the day. Caleb Ewan back in the pack in the green jersey, trying to seek out another opportunity to bring this back for a bunch sprint and possibly get rid of the likes of Fabio Jakobsen on the road. An abandon on the road from Fernando Gaviria of UAE Team Emirates. He stepped off midway through the stage. So one of Caleb Ewan's potential opponents already dispensed with. And still Ineos Grenadiers and Egan Bernal controlling things. Jakob Gessner in the King of the Mountains jersey in the peloton, waiting to see how this might unfold, because if Quentin Chérigui were to take all 3 of the climbs, he would take the jersey from Jakob Gessner. UAE Team Emirates very visible towards the front of the peloton. And at this point, 20 kilometres still to go until the next categorised climb to Amöneburg. Another huge job being done by Egan Bernal. Massive workload for the Colombian. Intermarché Wanty-Gobert also riding visibly towards the front as bit by bit the final closing circuit with its climbs approached. And the gap going out a little bit to 2 minutes and 46 seconds. 4 riders still working well together. Byron Munson And Abraham Stockmann there in the grey jersey, the second of the Stockmann brothers, his brother Michael being in the breakaway on stage 1. High humidity, very high temperature on the run into Marburg through the typical half-timbered houses of Hessen. And on to the Armuneburg climb, 1.4 kilometres in length, but a very testing average gradient of 10%. Armuneburg, something of a wonder itself. And Canton Jarogui of B&B Hotels instantly dropped. And that settles one thing. That would mean that Jakob Gessner would be secure in the mountains jersey for another day. His teammate Jan Hugger, one of 3 riders still at the front of the race. As Abraham Stockmann sets the pace. Still 400 metres or so to the top of this very testing little climb. Byron Munton, the young South African, just 23 years of age. Meanwhile, back in the peloton, pressure being put on Fabio Jakobsen, the European champion, and his EF Education Easy Post start to pile the pressure on. At the front of the race, Jan Hugger rides away from the other 2, taking 3 points to add to his 2 at the first climb, with 2 more climbs still remaining. And Alberto Bettiol piling it on from EF Education Easy Post in the company of one of his teammates, Fabio Jakobsen, just about holding on at the back of the bunch as they too go over the top of this climb. 41.5 kilometres remaining. 2 more categorised climbs and the bonus sprint still to come. And Bettiol over the top of the climb, ripping the race to bits now. The wind getting up as well and blowing across the course. And as at this moment, the race in bits as Mauri van Zevenant from Quickstep Alpha Vinyl finds himself in a group off the front with around about 12-15 riders. Filippo Ganna still there, as well as Adam Yates. The group behind, starting to get themselves organised, but Caleb Ewan in, well, what is that, the 3rd, 4th, 5th group on the road. In the crosswinds then, the race ripping to bits, and a group of some 15-20 riders, including the race leader, Filippo Ganna, and Alberto Bettiol, who kicked that all off, and a little bit of a bad-tempered interchange there between Jeremy Lecroc and one of the riders from Saris-Ruvi Sauerland. A lot of pressure being exerted now. Strong winds over the top of this plateau. And a big chase group trying to get themselves organised. Bahrain Victorious working at the front of this group to try and knit it all back together again, but they're still riding at the front in this Filippo Ganna group with Alberto Bettiol on all his wheel. Georg Zimmermann is there, the German rider from Intermarché Wanty-Gobert. Jonathan Milan in the white jersey dropped, having done a lot of the work on the front of that big chase group to try and bring Peyo Bilbao, his team leader, back. But still, Ben Tulit and Adam Yates riding on the front for the Ineos Grenadiers. There's Tulit. Davide Formula also in this group, but there is the big chase group, and they're nearly making the junction. Peyo Bilbao, the team leader of Bahrain Victorious, just darts across now to try and get across to the Filippo Ganna group at the front. There he is. Bilbao makes the junction, and those 2 groups come back together again. It's not the complete peloton. The sprinters have notably been dropped. Over the Hasenkopf climb then, 2 riders just going clear, Mauri van Zevenant and Juri Holman from Movistar. Peyo Bilbao forcing the pace on the front of the red jersey group, going over the top of the Hasenkopf climb and dropping down now into Marburg to the first passage of the finish line, the second intermediate sprint. Pressure still being applied on the descent through the outskirts of Marburg and towards the line. Bilbao in the company of a dozen or so other riders, but a little group has got off the front, including Mauri van Zevenant and Michael Bjerre, who constantly has been on the attack. Lilian Kalmjan, Juri Holman, they take the bell. 16.7 kilometres to go, and out onto the testing circuit. This race in bits. Matt Holmes there from Lotto Soudal taking the bell in a second group on the road. And out towards the climb of Marbach. Pretty much straight away through the centre of Marburg in the shadow of the famous castle. And Michael Bjerg for about the 3rd or 4th time going on the attack, taking Ben Healy of EF Education Easy Post with him. Mauri van Zevenant once again there. He's a constant presence at the front over the top of the Marbach climb. That's the last of the categorised climbs. Mauri van Zevenant picking up 3 points in the King of the Mountains competition to open his account. Very dynamic race Filippo Ganna still towards the front and still holding on to his virtual red jersey, but EF Education Easy Post with 3 riders at the front now, including Alberto Bettiol and Ruben Guerrero, pushing for the bonus sprint, and it's Romain Bardet from DSM who takes 3 seconds to go from 12 seconds to 9 on GC. Alberto Bettiol significantly picking up second place and improving his GC standings from 6 seconds to 4 seconds, but on the run into the finish line in the closing kilometres, it's Tony Galopin who attacks. 300 metres to go, Galopin still just about on the front, but Alexander Christophe and the Intermarché Wanty Gobert team looking good. Strength in numbers, Florian Sénéchal still there, Alberto Bettiol also still in the mix. There's Matt Holmes from Lotto Soudal, but the sprinters opened up on the right hand side of the road. It's Alexander Christophe with Florian Sénéchal and Alberto Bettiol switching down to the middle of the track, but Christophe gets there. Alexander Christophe taking the victory, taking the 10 seconds time bonus too. A great win by the Norwegian.
Started off with like 50k to go with a steep climb and crosswind, and now from there on it was full racing. I was really dropped many times, but Sven was stayed with me the whole time and brought me back I think 3 times. So today the team worked really well for me in the final, and I'm very happy to bring back the victory. So it's always nice to deliver back when the team believes in you like this.
So Mr. Consistent Alexander Christophe, win number 4 for 2022 and a 4th career win at the Deutschland Tour. He wins ahead of Florian Sénéchal and Alberto Bettiol significantly in 3rd place, picking up 4 bonus seconds.
I'm happy to take the 3rd place and this jersey, especially also the bonus second at the top of the last hill. So all the team today showed that we are really strong, and we try tomorrow maybe with Ruben Guerrero now to defend this jersey and to go as hard as we could, and then we can see Sunday what we get.
So Bettiol in red, the race leader from EF Education Easy Post. But it could not be closer. 3 riders on the same time, including Christophe, the stage winner, and Filippo Ganna, with Mollema just 2 seconds further down. A very congested top 10. Alexander Christophe taking over the leadership of the green jersey competition. He leads by 2 points to Florian Sénéchal, Christophe on 20. Ganna still there on 15, along with Caleb Ewan in 4th place. Jakob Gessner continues to lead the King of the Mountains competition despite not picking up any further points on the day. 11 points for Gessner to Duckert's 7 points. And a new leader. Once again, it's Mick van Dijken resuming his leadership of the white jersey competition as Jonathan Milan falls away. Tobias Voss, though, just 1 second down, and Lars Boven also right there on 2 seconds. Stage 3. A truly historic day in the history of the Deutschland Tour. Leaving behind them Freiburg in Baden-Württemberg with its Gothic minster, the race would head out for a first ever summit finish in the history of the race. Schauinsland, the hill overlooking Freiburg, would be the scene for the big finale of the Queen stage. Stage 3 then, 148.9 kilometres, starting off hilly and ending up mountainous. Leaving behind them Freiburg, they first head up the Schellinger Höhe, one of 4 categorised climbs, followed in quick succession by the Texas Pass, before dropping down into the Rhine Valley and heading in a southerly direction. A sprint at Bad Krozingen, followed by another one at Bolschweil, and then into the hills. The penultimate climb of Luisenhöhe, followed by the ascent of Schauinsland, with bonus seconds available with 4.6 kilometres to go. An 11.6 kilometre climb in total, a stage which starts off relatively flat and then gains in severity all the way to the finish line. An opportunity as well for Simon Geschke from Freiburg, the German climber, with his wife Sophie and his dog Jimmy in attendance, to show us what he's all about. The big favourites lining up on the start line then. A big day out potentially for the King of the Mountains, Jakob Gessner, to try and sweep up as many points as possible, and for Alberto Bettiol, the race leader, to try and defend that red jersey and keep it within the ranks of EF Education Easy Post. Rolling out from Freiburg then, A prolonged battle for the breakaway ensued, and eventually 6 riders got away, including the blue jersey of Jakob Gessner, ably supported by his teammate from Lotto Kern, Joshua Huppertz. He too was in the break, as well as both the Stockmann brothers from the Saudi Sauerlands team. Quick Step Alpha Vinyl among the teams controlling the breakaway as the gap grew to 7 minutes, with the European road race champion Fabio Jakobsen doing a turn on the front in the services of their GC Hope, Mauri van Zevenant, but also some of the work being shared by EF Education Easy Post's Jonas Rutsch, looking after the interests of the race leader, Alberto Bettiol. Into Bad Kreutzingen then, and an attack from Michael Stockmann, one of the twin brothers from the Sauerland team. Stockmann it was, going through the sprint in first place. No real reaction and no battle for second place. A largely ceremonial sprint won by Michael Stockmann, and the 6 getting themselves back together again and holding on to a 6.5 minute advantage with just under 62 kilometres remaining. Still Fabio Jakobsen working on the front with the Quick Step Alpha Vinyl team, very prominent. The weather increasingly overcast, and up at the finish line already starting to rain. Peloton riding a controlling pace rather than bringing the breakaway back too quickly, and in the distance those rain clouds starting to loom large. Still the European champion Fabio Jakobsen dedicating himself to the services of Mauri van Zevenant and Alberto Bettiol in the red jersey, the race leader, perhaps though only for one day. DSM also starting to share the work. 3 teams beginning to make inroads now on the advantage of the 6 riders in the breakaway as the gap started to come down. Jakob Gessner, one more categorised climb for him. Already on the day, he had moved himself up to 17 points in a fairly unassailable position in the King of the Mountains competition. But with Luisenhöhe still possible for the breakaway, there was motivation for the break to continue. 38 kilometres and the gap holding at just over 4 minutes, as Trek Segafredo also join in the pace setting at the front of the bunch. Through wine country and the vineyards and big crowds at the side of the road. The 6 riders still all together. Joshua Huppertz from Lotto Kern doing a lot of work in the services of their young King of the Mountains. Then the rain started. Through the second sprint of the day, Bolschweil, the 6 riders just rolling through together, but torrential rain starting to fall in Baden-Württemberg. Back in the bunch, Mick van Dijke moving Jumbo-Visma's 2 GC hopes, Tobias Voss and Gijs Leemreizer, closer to the front, and the gap starting to tumble now as the climb to Luisenhöhe approached. DSM taking things up, and instantly, as the pace goes up, the peloton starts to shatter, and at the front as well, a couple of riders looking like they're losing contact. Abraham Stockmann and Joshua Huppertz succumbing to the pace being set by Jakob Gessner and Harm van Hooke. Harm van Hooke then riding clear of Gessner, those 2 riders at the front of the race. On the climb, the 3.5 kilometre climb of Luisenhöhe, and the peloton getting whittled down by the pace being set. Harm van Hooke then approaching the top of the climb inside the final kilometre. Over the top of this climb, a 2 kilometre descent, and then down onto the 11.6 kilometre climb of Schauinsland. Border Hansgrohe and the Ineos Grenadiers moving to the front of the bunch. Harm van Hooke taking the 5 maximum points at the top of the Cap 1 Luisenhöhe. Abraham Stockmann crossing in 3rd place and picking up 1 extra point. And a rainbow coming out over the hillside. Ineos Grenadiers now really piling the pressure on with Laurens de Plus taking with him Mauri van Zevenant looking good. Pello Bilbao being piloted in the colours of Bahrain Victorious by Hermann Pernsteiner. Those riders attacking on the descent, a 2 kilometre descent, and Pello Bilbao, an outstanding descender. The Spaniard really forcing the pace as the breakaway closing in on the front of the race very quickly, picking up the remainders of the breakaway, which is shattered into bits. Just Harm van Hooke now with Jakob Gessner, who picked up 1 extra point at the King of the Mountains, caught and passed by the GC race coming in hard. Harm van Hooke, though, still with a 54-second advantage over the GC race. Pernsteiner and Bilbao really taking risks on the wet descent. Then the Ineos Grenadiers setting the pace. Lawrence de Plus doing a big turn here for Adam Yates. Yates, in many people's eyes, the big favourite as they hit the lower slopes of the Schouwinsland climb. Harm van Hooker still with a 39-second advantage as the attacks start from the group of favourites. Antonio Pedrero from Movistar, the first to really open up a bit of a gap. A reaction coming from Davide Formolo of UAE Team Emirates. And Harm van Hooker still solo off the front, still with a 40-second lead, just outside 10 kilometres of the climb remaining. The groups coming back together again. Counter-attack coming from George Bennett now from UAE Team Emirates. He and Formolo both still there. And Alberto Bettiol in the red leaders jersey, not dropped yet, but a little vulnerable at the back of that group, along with Emmanuel Buchmann, one of the home favourites. Another attack from Pedrero, this time countered by Adam Yates, who sweeps to the front. Sits on the front with the man from Movistar on his wheel. Buchmann now losing contact with the group of favourites, and Alberto Bettiol, having got round Buchmann, is still just about there in that chase group. Harm van Hooker now, caught by Yates and Pedrero. 3 riders off the front. 7.2 kilometres to go. Van Hooker drops. Adam Yates looks round, checks, sees that Pedrero is still there. Mauri van Zevenant battling on, and Yates drops Pedrero and goes solo with 6.4 kilometres to go. Could this be the big move? There's a reaction from the other Movistar climber, Ivan Sosa, the Colombian, going after Adam Yates. Matthias Schellmoser, the Danish rider from Trek Segafredo, just moving up on the left-hand side of that chase group, the third group on the road. There's Sosa. And it looks like Guerrero has attacked from that group of favourites. Sosa, second rider on the road, trying to hunt down Adam Yates, but making no immediate impression on the British climber. Adam Yates going through the bonus sprint and picking up 3 further bonus seconds to move from 6 seconds to 3 on GC. And Alberto Bettiol already out of the equation. The red jersey would definitely be changing hands at the end of this Schouwinsland climb. Substantial advantage over the rest. Pello Bilbao attacking the group of chasers and going clear. So Pello Bilbao in second place now on the road as Ivan Sosa drops back. Georg Zimmermann under pressure with Ruben Guerrero and Mauri van Zevenant and Ivan Sosa. This is the third group on the road now. And Zimmermann looks like he's attacked that group and is clear and on his own, the man from Intermarché Wanty Gobert. So Yates, followed by Sosa, followed Pello Bilbao, I should say, followed by Georg Zimmermann. Yates, though, inside the final kilometre with a healthy advantage. And surely this is just a matter of by how much for Adam Yates. Pello Bilbao also on his own on the road. 500 metres to go for Bilbao, 100 metres to go for Adam Yates. A fine victory, unanswerable his attack. Adam Yates takes the first ever summit finish at the Deutschland Tour, and with it, the red jersey. A first win in almost 18 months for Adam Yates. And for Pello Bilbao, a fine second place for Bahrain Victorious. Georg Zimmermann, who was in third place, caught very close to the line by Ruben Guerrero and Mauri van Zevenant, who holds on to take third place. But Yates, the clear winner.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm really happy. You know, it's been my first win in a long time. And this year I've had a lot of bad luck. I've been sick almost the whole year, or it feels like the whole year. So to come back after the tour with good condition and good legs, it really feels good.
So Adam Yates, a first win since winning a stage and taking the general in the Tour of Catalonia last year. Pello Bilbao 19 seconds down, and Mauri van Zevenant, a fine ride, claiming 4 bonus seconds in fourth place. The red jersey, though, firmly on the shoulders of the Ineos Grenadiers, Adam Yates, with a 30-second advantage over Pello Bilbao. But Mauri van Zevenant, Schellmoser and Zimmermann very close with Ruben Guerrero for third place. The green jersey still on the shoulders of Alexander Kristoff. Just 1 point his lead, though, over Adam Yates, and 2 to Florian Sénéchal. And Jakob Gessner extending his lead in the King of the Mountains competition. Now has, with 1 stage remaining, a 10-point advantage. The job is not yet done, though, for Gessner. He'll have to try and attack tomorrow. And a new white jersey. Quick-Step Alpha Vinyls young Mauri van Zevenant takes over in the lead of the white jersey standings, but only by a fractional advantage. The final day of racing and a second successive day in the beautiful surroundings of the Black Forest in Baden-Württemberg. The little town of Schiltach, the host town for the start of stage 4. Unchanged largely since the Middle Ages, and about to witness the peloton of the Deutschland Tour 2022. So the King of the Mountains competition, one of the issues still to be decided. 5 categorised climbs on the way to Stuttgart on stage 4. One Cat 1 climb to get things started and an intermediate sprint at Freudenstadt. 17 points in total still available in the King of the Mountains competition. And then a final and intriguing closing circuit in the city centre of Stuttgart, up and over the little climb to Herdeweg 3 times. And on the final ascent of Herdeweg, bonus sprint and bonus seconds available in the general classification. A dynamic route planned up and down all day, and a closing circuit which could once again explode the race.
Perfect, thanks a lot.
Adam Yates then, a first day in the red jersey for him. Jakob Gessner continuing in the blue jersey, the leader of the King of the Mountains competition, and Mauri van Zevenant, the new leader of the white jersey competition. Alexander Kristoff continuing in green. So the peloton rolled out for the final time on the Deutschland Tour 2022, the final stage. And although the red jersey should be safe enough for the Ineos Grenadiers and Adam Yates, plenty of other issues still undecided. A breakaway of 7 riders eventually established itself, including the German national champion Nils Pollitt, Mick van Dijke and Romain Bardet of Team DSM. And the Ineos Grenadiers controlling things, holding the gap at 1 minute and 34 seconds. One rider at the front of the race, Clément Bevray from AG2R La Citroën, was only at 2 minutes down in the general classification. And for that reason, Adam Yates had to keep a close eye on the breakaway. 1 or 2 riders caught in a group right off the back, though, with Alexander Kristoff and the sprinters. Jakob Gessner, the King of the Mountains, hoping that nothing untoward was happening up front. He should be safe enough. Nils Pollitt then looking round to Alessandro Covi as Stuttgart drew ever closer and the final closing circuit. The 7 riders working well together. And at this point, the virtual race lead had passed from the Ineos Grenadiers to AG2R Citroën. Matt Holmes from Lotto Soudal, one of the riders in the breakaway, one of the climbers, hoping to seize his opportunity on the closing circuit, and Barnabas Peak from Intermarché Wanty-Gobert. And then, with Stuttgart honing into view, for the first of 4 times, they crossed over the finish line and out onto the circuit. 3 times round a 9-kilometre circuit, up and over the Herdweg climb 3 times. Matt Holmes drinking deeply from his water bottle, and Barnabas Peak looking round to Mick van Dijke as watchfulness creeped into the 7 riders at the front of the race. Then B&B Hotels took control of the peloton, and the time gap came down quickly, just 1.5 minutes as they too came over the finish line. Huge crowds gathered in the middle of Stuttgart, and the red jersey of Adam Yates. Then trouble for Kjell Moser Jensen from Trek Segafredo, coming to grief on that final right-handed turn before the finish line. That took him out of the general classification equation completely. Onto the Herdweg climb for the first of 3 ascents then, a 1.4 kilometre effort with an average gradient of 7.1%. The 7 riders at the front of the race keeping themselves together at least on the first ascent of the climb. Massive crowds towards the top. 11% the gradients here, as Nils Pollitt just opened up a little bit of a gap going over the climb. The King of the Mountains competition already done though. Nothing to be gained there for Nils Pollitt, but a little look over to see the form of the other riders in the breakaway group. In the meantime, 1 minute and 10 further back down the road, Filippo Ganna with Adam Yates on his wheel, piloting the Ineos Grenadiers to the foot of the climb and over the top of the climb as they headed down into Stuttgart for the second time. The gap now 1 minute and 3 seconds, the general classification firmly under control for Adam Yates. Onto the climb the second time then, waiting for the steeper sections. Having done their reconnaissance, Knowing the nature of the climb and the time gap at 46 seconds, Romain Bardet decided to make a move. Bardet then attacking early on the climb and taking with him from Jumbo-Visma Mick van Dijk. A check behind from Bardet reveals that the Dutchman is still there, and then Van Dijk going solo over the top of the climb and opening up a lead on all the other riders in the breakaway. An explosive attack from Mick van Dijk of Jumbo-Visma, going clear with 15.6 kilometres remaining. In the meantime, though, the gap between the front of the race and the red jersey of Adam Yates getting smaller all the while, just down to 34 seconds. Matt Holmes off in pursuit of Mick van Dijk, followed by Romain Bardet, and slowly but surely those three riders, including Barnabas Peyaert, were about to bring back the man from Jumbo-Visma. Still Filippo Ganna on the front, with Adam Yates, the race leader, now pretty secure in the red jersey, and the four riders coming together on the descent to the finish line, where they would take the bell next time through. Barnabas Peyaert attacking through the finish line to take the bell with a couple of seconds advantage over Romain Bardet, Mick van Dijk and Matt Holmes. These four riders with a 35-second advantage over what remained of the bunch as they too took the bell. A couple of riders from the original breakaway, including Niels Pollitt, then swept up by Filippo Ganna, still on the front for the Ineos Grenadiers, out onto the last ascent of the Herdweg climb, this time with bonus seconds available. And EF Education Easy Post take it up with Ben Healy, the Irishman, now, bringing the time gap down pretty fast. EF Education Easy Post with Ruben Guerrero, their GC man, hoping perhaps to pick up bonus seconds at the top of the climb, but in order to do that they'd have to bring back the four riders at the front of the race. But the time gap shrinking. Onto the climb then. The breakaway caught by EF Education Easy Post and Ben Healy. Bauke Mollema dropping away at the back as the pressure is being exerted at the front. Ruben Guerrero with Mauri van Zevenant in the battle for third place in the general classification. Guerrero needing to make up time on Mauri van Zevenant, picks up 3 bonus seconds at the bonus sprint. Van Zevenant in third place picks up 1, but Guerrero now breathing down the neck of Van Zevenant. Romain Bardet shaking his head in frustration. The stage win going to elude the Frenchman this time from DSM. A frustrating race for Romain Bardet in the end. Alberto Bettiol working on the front for EF Education Easy Post, checking where Ruben Guerrero, his teammate, is. The red jersey of Adam Yates now glued to the wheel of the man from EF Education Easy Post. Georg Zimmermann also in the mix, also in the hunt for a podium place or even a tilt at the white jersey. Mauri van Zevenant in the white jersey, under pressure. But the stage being set up here by Alberto Bettiol. Unselfishly, inside the final kilometre, Bettiol leading out Ruben Guerrero for a sprint to try and pick up bonus seconds and catapult himself up, possibly into a podium place at the end of the stage. Bettiol still on the front on that last right-hander inside the last 500 metres. Opening up the sprint though is Pello Bilbao in second place in the general classification from Bahrain Victorious. A rider with a good sprint, alongside him Alberto Bettiol and Ruben Guerrero sprinting for second place. Bilbao wins the stage. Guerrero in second place. A great victory for the man from Bahrain Victorious.
This was the plan for today. No, we knew that the overall was going to be difficult with 30 seconds with Yates, but we felt confident with this technical last circuit to fight for the victory.
Terrific win from Pello Bilbao, who does know how to sprint from a small group, as he proves time and time again. He wins the stage from Ruben Guerrero in second place. Yates finished in fifth.
And it just, you know, for the team to ride like we did today as well, they had the confidence in me to finish the job, and you know, it just really means a lot. So super happy, and on to the rest of the season.
Adam Yates clearly in great form as the rest of the season approaches. A victory in the general classification here at the Deutschland Tour by 22 seconds in the end from Pello Bilbao, and Ruben Guerrero in third place after all at 44 seconds. Bilbao also picked up only the second career points jersey. 27 seconds his tally, 2 points better off than Adam Yates in second place on 25, and Alexander Kristoff drops down to third place in the end. Jakob Gessner from Erfurt and Thüringen wins the King of the Mountains competition. Despite not being in the breakaway on stage 4, he wins by 6 points ahead of Romain Bardet in second on 12. And a change in the white jersey competition right at the last minute. Georg Zimmermann, picking up bonus seconds in third place, puts himself ahead of Mauri van Zevenant and for the second year in a row wins the white jersey competition at the Deutschland Tour. Movistar win the team competition. Ifan Souza's resurgent form in tandem with Antonio Pedrero gives them the team classification. So the 1, 2, 3. Ruben Guerrero in third place, Pello Bilbao in second, and Adam Yates deserving a big sip of beer and taking another GC win to add to his tally. That's it then from the Deutschland Tour 2022, a historic edition and one of the best there's ever been.